Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode where I walk you through how to get the achievements in StarCraft 2. This time we're in Heart of the Swarm. The mission we're going over today is Rendevous, and the achievements are Rendevous, complete the mission. First strike, destroy 15 structures before reinforcements arrived. And Zerg, save the Queen. Rescue all trapped Zerg before reinforcements arrive. This one's not too hard. It's more or less just a holding mission that's basically you trying to keep them from killing you. It's not too bad. It's fairly simple, actually. Basically, all you're trying to do is destroy that cannon, so this way, when Raynor shows up, he'll be safe. But we all know that Raynor's not going to show up, so... And this is where, Kerigan is just kind of figuring out, hey, she can still communicate with the Zerg, and they still think she's the Queen of Blades. So, she's just kind of like, well, you know, I'll take control of it, but I'm not the Queen of Blades. I'll use you for my own ends, but I'm not the one you're looking for, you know? And eventually we'll get to the mission. I do like playing Zerg because they're a very fun race to play because of their quirks and abilities. The only qualms I do have is that the drones become the buildings you need. So it's like, if you need a refinery or a spawning pool, which is their version of a barracks, or a hydralisk den, which is kind of their version of... I wouldn't say it's a factory, but it produces factory-like units, I guess. Actually, it'd probably be more close to a cybernetics core from the Protoss. But they're still really fun to play with. So yeah, on top of having to build your units, build your military units, you're always having to build drones as well, because the more defenses you put up, the more buildings you put up, the more drones you're going to have to make, which is kind of going to slow you down in your mineral production, which is, like I said, it's the kind of the drawback that comes with playing Zerg. But the good thing about Zerg is 90% of their units are cheap, like dirt cheap. And the Zerglings, they produce 2 units for every 1 UQ. So, one larva becomes 2 Zerglings. And then later on in the campaign, not in multiplayer though, but in the campaign, you get the ability to produce 3 Zerglings at once instead of 2. So, yeah, they are very fun. The term Zergling Rush is very applicable to the Zerg because they basically have this ability to, before you've got your main army built, you'll be being assaulted by like 100 units from their side, and you've only got like maybe 10 to 15 on yours, especially if you're Protoss. The other downside to their units, they are very squishy, but they have regeneration, health regeneration. Over time, they will heal themselves. The thing I like about the campaign versus the multiplayer aspect of the Zerg is the Queens have a auto AoE heal, whereas when you're playing multiplayer, they have a targeted manual heal. So you have to manually go through and be like, I want you to heal that unit. And when you're dealing with Zerg, you're dealing with about 50 to 100 units, it's kind of hard to go that guy, you know? And you can't just select the army, hit the heal button on the queen, and then hit the button on, or, hit the heal on the unit in the panel. You have to actually hit the unit that's on the battlefield. So that's one of the downsides to trying to heal with the Zerg. And I'm sorry if this video is a little bit skippy. I was having very bad internet trouble. We were having a bad storm, and so it kept disconnecting. And as you'll see at the end of the video, when you disconnect from the internet on campaign, you lose the ability to get achievements, and that's why at the end of the video I wasn't able to get the. I got all the requirements, but the achievements didn't pop for me, and so I had to go back through later on and redo the mission, so this way the achievements would pop. But I met all the requirements, so this video still works for the purposes that I'm making it, so. It still shows you how to get the achievements for this mission, so. The other thing about this mission is it's before you have the ability to hit, before you have the ability to select your entire army with the F2 button. So it's very rough with the Zerg because, like I said, they have this ability to produce units en masse. And so when you're producing units en masse and you don't have a way to select all the units, you can basically lose track of some units over here, over there, And then basically on this mission, the only thing you need to focus on is building drones, zerglings, and queens. Everything else is pretty much a secondary because you can deal with everything else that comes around with your, like I said, if there's a flying unit, you can deal with it with your queens or kerigan herself, and then everything else dies pretty quick to the zerglings. So it's just a matter of building the army up. Also, make sure that you do dedicate some drones to becoming spine crawlers. I'd say probably 2 to 5. 2's good to start off with, but you'll want to make, I think 5 will hold the line, so this way you don't have to recall your forces back to your base. So basically put 5 on each side in those corridors, and this way you don't have to, every time your base is assaulted, bring your army back to the base. Also, make sure you're working on your upgrades with the evolution chamber. I'd start with the the attack upgrades first, and then worry about the defense secondary. Because the thing about the Zergs is because they're so cheap and they produce en masse, they are very squishy, but 4 units of the Zerg is pretty much equal to 1 unit of a regular army, so it kind of balances out, Especially when you're dealing with the Protoss, 4 Zerglings is equal to 1 Zealot, in cost-wise, at least. Yeah, once you have the second group of the second rescued group of Zerglings, you can go ahead and move up into this this kind of pseudo base up here in the left corner of the map, because there's not a lot of heavy resistance you'll get up here, so it's kind of easy just to move through and destroy the buildings, because you're still trying to get that 15 building destruction achievement. So And also, when you destroy the buildings, do not forget about the reactor or the fusion cores and the tech reactors. You want to destroy those too, because I do believe they count towards the building count, and if not, it just saves it from somebody coming in and putting another barracks or another factory down on top of that tech lab. So, it's just a good rule of thumb. And like you see here in a minute, I had to pull my forces back because because I was getting attacked, and so I was like, oh, I gotta pull them back. So, like I said, you want to put about 5 spine crawlers and 2 of the AOE, the flying defense units at each of the entrances. This way, you don't have to come in and like I did here, or like you see here, I have to go and rebuild those spine crawlers. So it's just easier that way. So this way, you don't have to pull your forces back and miss any buildings or anything like that. Make sure you target down like the siege tanks, any of the flame Terrans, because they are specifically made to combat your Zergling units. Because the flames do massive AoEs, which, since your Zerg units don't have a lot of health, they die pretty quick. And then the tanks, they do large concussive blasts, so that's like another AoE in itself. Yeah, see, I should have went ahead and put all 5 spine crawlers out first, but I wasn't thinking about it, so I'm having to do the defense on the fly here. And don't worry about losing a bunch of Zerg units, because the Zerglings, like I said, they're really cheap, they're easy to make, and they will replenish really, really fast. Also, an easy tip to help manage your forces, since you don't have the ability to F3 and select your units. Go ahead and put your military unit spawning point on Kerigan. This way, the units will go to her instead of just staying at the base. And then if you find any more that you need to add to your, when they show up, you can hold shift and click over them, or will click drag over them, and it allows you to add them to the group that you're currently using to assault bases and stuff. Yeah. This is why defense is really important with your base, because these guys, they just came in, they killed both my spine crawlers and my aerial defense, so it's just like, if I had have had the right defense there, I wouldn't have had to be coming back every time there's a new assault wave, and, you know, basically replacing those units over and over and over again, so... Yeah, that's why I say about 3 to 5, more closer to 5, so about five spine crawlers on each side is the best defense. In a kind of like 3-2-1 pyramid, you can go 3 spine crawlers, 2 spine crawlers, and then the aerial defense at the back. So this way, if they send stuff like wraiths or banshees, your aerial defense can defend your spine crawlers. Try not to grab your overseers when you're doing when you're grabbing your units too. Because your overseers, they are detectors, yeah, but they are also your supply depots, like with the Terrans. So, like, they're a unit that helps build supply, but at the same time, if you're not careful with them, you can become supply locked because you weren't paying attention and one of your overlords got picked off. And with me, I get supply locked enough without having my overlords destroyed, so it's like, let's just keep the overlords at the base. Reinforcement time. Best part of the mission, because now she gives us access to the F2 button, which allows us to select all the units, because, oh god, if she didn't, having to control all of these Zerg with just click drag, it would be a nightmare. Yeah, this part of the mission is basically, let's show you how well the Zerg can overwhelm another force when given the right amount of prep time. And being someone who's both played Zerg and played against Zerg, I can tell you this is pretty dang accurate. There's nothing worse than seeing an entire, like, horde of Zerglings coming at you with, usually instead of the queens, it'll be like hydralisks, but because the queens don't heal like they do on the campaign, so it's just a giant army of like, oh, it's aerial assaulting, it's, you know, ground assaulting, and all this different stuff, so it's just like real terrorizing. That and the other thing I like about the Zerglings, more than the other base units for the other races, is they're very, very fast. They usually travel about the same speed as most like aerial units do, but they're on the ground, so it's just like they can get somewhere in a hurry. Well, there you go, guys. That's how to do the mission. this is just Kerrigan losing herself to the moment and having the Zerg go in and kill everyone, let no one survive. And then, like, the brood mother says, yes, the Queen of Blades has returned. And that kind of clicks into her head that, oh god, I was letting myself slip, I shouldn't do that. And so she's like, I need to leave, I need to leave, I need to get out of here. And there you go, guys. As you can see, the disconnects prevented the achievements from popping, but all the requirements for getting the achievements is there. I did destroy all the buildings I needed, and I was able to rescue all the trapped Zerg before the reinforcements got there. So if you just follow what I did, you'll be able to get through this mission, no problem, no sweat, and get all the achievements. If you like what you saw, give me a like, give me a follow, give me a share. Hell, just give me a shout out in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.